there folks, it's Glenn with the almost world famous Cactus Atlas, and today I'm going to take you on a road trip drive up to Yosemite where I'm spending the next 4 nights. We got a lot of driving to do and a lot of stops to make along the way. You know the drill. Let's get on the road. Current time is 7:22 a.m. I have packed up my site and all of my belongings and did my walk around, make sure I didn't leave anything, and did everything else I needed to do, and now I'm leaving. I'm leaving here about 40 minutes earlier than I planned, just because I got up on time. Got up a minute before my alarm went off, and then just got my tent taken care of. I was gonna eat breakfast and stuff, but I'm just not hungry at all. I'm thirsty. So I'm drinking some electrolyte drinks. And I figure I'll just head into town into Lone Pine, California before we leave. I've got to get fueled up anyway. Probably top off on the ice in my cooler. And then we're gonna head up 395 in California. A lot of you know what that is. And yeah, the first location I want to stop at, which I'll tell you about in a little bit, it doesn't open until 9 a.m. It's a museum type thing. So I've got a little bit of time to kill, so I may just go find breakfast down in Lone Pine and have a slow morning for once. I could use it. We'll use this drive to show you a view from heaven before we get started, though. I want to say the Alabama Hills yesterday. I was down there filming another episode, went to some classic film locations for the Western film industry and then some. And I fell in love with it down there. I'd seen it once before, but not as in-depth as I did. I spent pretty much the bulk of the day exploring down there, and you know, I want to come back. I left so much undone down there. But you know, definitely check that video out if you haven't. And for now, I'm just gonna shut up and enjoy this with you. It should be a better view going this way for a bit. And that's looking north towards where we're going. We're driving right up that valley. 395 is down there somewhere. Probably good enough. I'm gonna get in the town and take care of a couple of my needs and kill a few minutes before we head on out to our first stop, which is gonna be, I want to say a national, I don't remember if it's a national monument or a national historic park. Something called Manzanar. I'll explain in detail, of course, as always, what it is when we're looking at it. Some of you know, though. So I'm sitting here in a McDonald's parking lot finishing up my McCafe this morning, staring back towards Whitney Portal. I've been killing time waiting until it's almost 9 when the next place I'm stopping will be open, which is Manzanar National Historic Site is what it is. And it's not going to be the happiest, site to visit, of course, but if you know what it is. But as we make our way over there, I will tell you a few facts to kind of prep you, and it's not all we're doing today. So if it's something that's depressing for you, you can fast forward, and then we'll go be checking out Crowley Lake, the Crowley Lake Columns, if all goes according to plan, which will be a completely different palate cleanser, we'll say. Basically what we're going to be seeing today dates us back. The story begins around 1942, shortly after President Franklin D. Roosevelt signed Executive Order 9066, I believe, authorizing the Secretary of State to basically incarcerate Japanese Americans in these internment camps here in the west of the United States. This is shortly after Pearl Harbor, so think of that whole context. And of course, when things happen like that, bad things can ensue, and that's really what we're going to be learning a little bit about today. So after the bombing of Pearl Harbor and Roosevelt signing that executive order, about 120,000 Japanese Americans, I think I read the stat that 2/3 of which were American citizens. And the others were trying to become citizens, and federal law was prohibiting that during that time. But I think that's important to state. But because of Pearl Harbor, there is a fear of espionage activities and things like that by Japanese Americans. So they were all rounded up and put into one of 10 camps or something like that, spread around. Manzanar being one of them, here in Owens Valley, between the Sierra Nevada, I believe the Inyo Mountains over here. A pretty harsh environment that we will learn about what it was like to live and be there. And that's kind of what I want to dive into when we get there, is to bring in that aesthetic and try to put ourselves into that mindset of what that would have been like. All right, so we're about 4 miles down 395 from our location, and I'm just kind of studying the landscape. I read the Wikipedia level history of it. The Wikipedia's got a pretty descriptive article on this one, though, and it starts off with a history prior to even the internment camp, and even the natives living in the area using this valley, Owens Valley, to survive, and the early pioneers that actually planted orchards at Manzanar. Manzanar means apple orchard, I believe, in Spanish. But you had a bunch of ranchers living out here making a living until the city of Los Angeles built the thing that drained Owens Lake right down the road and lowered the water table, and all of the ranchers out here, there's no water left, and they were all forced to leave. So I guess that's the needs of the great, or the needs of the few are outshined by the needs of the many, or whatever that saying is. That happened, and they all vacated. This is in the early 1900s, 1905 through, I don't know, probably the first decade or two, and then it kind of sat unattended until World War II and Pearl Harbor, and then the U.S. government snatched this up for their camp. We're 3 miles away from the camp. All right, give you your first look here on foot. I mean, it's sad what happened here. And it's just, the irony is the landscape is one of the most beautiful visually of all time. Yet it's a harsh environment to live in. So I thought this was a modern building, but this is actually one of the remaining buildings, an actual auditorium that was here. And there's a picture of people dancing inside. If you few smiles that I see, but wow. All right, let's go check this out. Wow, I'm in the museum already, and this is beautiful what they've done here. But basically, you know, this is kind of introducing you to the concept here, and it's not one of our proudest moments, in my opinion. You can see, you know, here's a good example of the sentiment of the time. I think this is an interesting picture. You know, they were talking about, you know, they were Americans too. Many of them were actual American, legal American citizens that were rounded up and brought to these places. Is this a overlay of the entire facility as it was? Wow. Okay, this is really important because you can see here, which you're not going to get that outside. There's just a walking tour we're going to do, but there's only a few things that remain. These things were so cheaply built, I don't see how they could have stood the test of time. Remember, 10,000 people. 10,000. 2/3 of them US citizens. Rounded up. I don't think this could, and anything could have prepared me to understand the extent of this, you know, how big this actually was. This experience walking in here and seeing this, to me, it's horrifying. And it's horrifying for two reasons. One, this wasn't long ago. I am convinced we as a species are fully capable of this again. And the other thing that's kind of frightening is just the overall confusion. How lines are all grayed out. You know, people that truly were American citizens, all of a sudden your own country's turning your back on you, throwing you into these camps, and you're like, what the heck? But it's just, to me, it's just a study in mass human psychology and what we're capable of, unfortunately, as a race. And I really do think we think today that we're past all of this, but are we really? I don't know. That's why these museums are so important. Okay, so this is something I'm hoping we get to see a real one, but I think these are the barracks that were made of tar paper and cheap pine wood. And it was these that were supposed to keep the elements out, the extremes of temperature, the dirt, the dust. I think this is basically what life would have been like, and this is a replica, so we can see one. I might be wrong though. Yeah, I was reading descriptions by those that were here, just how, you know, once shortly after they constructed these things, there would be a lot of gaps and holes that would be exposed directly to the elements. You would wake up covered in dust from head to toe. Many, many nights. Like this poor gentleman probably did. But this would have been your life. You would have been uprooted from your house, everything taken away from you, and welcome home. This would be soul crushing. Imagine you had a dog or a cat. Were you allowed to bring your pets here? Especially imagine you're a child. No, you are not. Imagine your beloved family animal gone. Hopefully you knew somebody that could take care of it. And I guess you were allowed to bring a few things with you. Well, now that I've bombarded you with all that really uplifting imagery, it's so important that you go in there first, though, because you're going to understand when we saw that layout of the whole camp and how many buildings there actually were here. This is just a speck of what it once was. Holy moly. But I want to go over here. There's a walking tour, and I can kind of now share some of the stories that I read about, both in there as well as my internet research this morning. And once again, I apologize. I think this deserves a lot more depth than I'm going to be able to give it today, but it's a starting point. You know, you always got to start somewhere. So there are what I assume are either more of the tar paper barracks, and I'm also looking for one of the latrines. I think there's a latrine, and I want to talk about that because I think that was one of the aspects that actually I don't think we think about too much. That was horrible for these people that I read about. Privacy is a very important thing that us humans desire and require to be happy. And you're living your life, you're minding your own business, and then one day you're ordered to come here, and that privacy you've known all of your life, out the window immediately. Forget about it. Okay, so because this was such a big community, I guess they had to have their own fire department, and they used one of these shacks for that purpose. I think that's actually what we're looking at here. I have a map that we can look at and study as we go around. It's an old fire truck here, presumably an original from the era. There's another one in that section over there too, it looks like. And yeah, it looks like they did have a fire here, at least one fire, more than one, but July 28th of 1944. So there's your fire department. So walking over this way, I see more what I'm assuming are barracks. I don't know if we can go inside them or not. I just want to see like actual ones, and looks like the door is open. And I would, as much as I hate to say it, I do want to see one of these latrines to see if I can get a sense of what that was like. I mean, I would say there was worse than the latrine situation here, including death and illness. There's that too. But, man, I think they actually marked the location for some of these other blocks. This is block 4, building 1. And there's signs here, you know, they were looking at that model we saw. This place would have just been one after another. Not much left, and you could see some of the basketball. You read about people liking to play their sports, especially baseball. But let's see if we can get in here. Wow. So it's in September and it's hot. It's the morning and it's already getting quite warm in here, and that's one thing that I read about was the heat. But just imagine this, you know, you're displaced and you're just put into this really cheap pine box, not knowing your future, not knowing what the heck is going on, no privacy. And this would have been your home for a few years. The only redeeming factor that I can think of here is the view. And I'm sure that got pretty old after a while. And I don't know if it would have been that good of a view because lined up right in front of us would have been building after building after building. Welcome to Manzanar. So there you go. They're talking about the whirlwinds of dust that would easily get into these buildings and just, between us and the floor, I don't know what they did to preserve it, but these things are on concrete blocks. And they were saying how you could see, after the wood starts to dry out, cracks start to form, and you can see clean through to the ground. People were saying holes in the wall, and here's another good example, I think, of a authentic looking barrack. I don't know how much they, I'm assuming they kept families together, at least, but I'm sure you would be put into quarters with strangers at times. Yeah, the one thing though I heard about just that was brutal was the heat in the summer and the extremes in temperature, going from a warm, daytime temperature to very cold temperatures at night, and the wind. Boy, I could see how the wind could be fierce down here. There's no trees to break the wind, nothing like that. And just all of the drafts and the dust blowing in here. Literally people waking up covered in dust, they said, from head to toe, every day. So it looks like here are the latrines, and this is really, so I must have misread something, because I read that they did not have men's and women's latrines. I read that they had communal latrines that they had to share. Maybe that was true, or maybe I misread that, I don't know. Because I was reading how that was one of the worst aspects of being here, is losing that privacy and having to shower. But, if it's at least separated by men and women, I think you'd get used to that pretty quickly. I mean, I was in frickin' high school, you had showers there. I mean, as long as I'm not having a shower with the ladies, I guess, or vice versa. Let's go check one of these out and see what this is all about, because even if it's same sex, I like my privacy in the bathroom too. I don't think I'd like to do my business out in the open, but there you go, see? Enduring humiliation. Basically the worst thing was the latrine. So it looks like in each block there were 2 latrines, one for women and one for men. It served about 300 people a piece. So where did I read that I swear I read that they had men and women sharing the same thing. So, but holy moly, imagine that. Look at that. Wow. And when you're serving 300 people, to me it is a type of humiliation. I mean, how hard would it have been to put like some wood in between each little toilet at least? And then here are the showers. As I read, there was no, separate stall. So if you're gonna shower, you're gonna do so plain out in the open. With no privacy. You can actually still see where the toilets were placed here. Same layout, it looks like. Showers, and then your toilets. So this is a 1943 to 1945 period room, this is what this is called. So this is I think what this is basically saying is, that people were not given anything, so they took it upon themselves to make their own furniture, is one thing that the sign was saying, to make their lives more comfortable. So is this indicative of what a barracks would have then looked like after it was given a more personal treatment, I guess, or home improvement by the residents here? Looks like it, maybe. To make their apartments more livable, many families scrounged wood to build tables, chairs, and partitions. So you could see people do value their privacy. But yeah, we're standing right in the middle of where all of these barracks once stood, and spinning around here to see how vast this area is here. So I told you, kind of a somber start to today in a beautiful looking setting. This is a little bit more intense to experience than I actually thought it was gonna be, to be honest. And mainly it's just because, in my personal opinion, is I don't think, as a human race, I think we're capable of doing this again. Alrighty. Manzanar National Historic Site. And we just barely scratched the surface. There's a lot more property that we could have and probably should have toured, but the main things I wanted to really see were those things that communicated the misery some of these people felt, or I would say all of the people felt here at one point in time. But there's a driving tour around the property. They give you a pamphlet with a map. So like I said, we sampled a few things, but I am 7 minutes ahead of my itinerary. So we're leaving, 6 minutes now, early.
Left onto Manzanar Reward Road.
But for the most part, I say we finished on time. Anyway, we're gonna leave Manzanar behind for now, to focus on the work of today. But it will never leave my heart or my mind. It's ingrained in me now that I've especially seen it and now have to face it and ponder it, as we all should. We all should really give thought, open, honest thought to these types of things. I think it's very important. So that's my spiel, done. On to the Crowley Columns. We've got about an hour and a half of driving up 395 with no other planned stops other than I still need to get gas, and I think this is the town of Independence coming up, so maybe there will be gas here because I forgot to do that earlier and stock up on ice, but I think we're doing okay on ice. Everything looks icy still. It's been cool enough where I've been staying that it doesn't melt too fast. Since I think this is probably the first time on this trip we're really spending significant time on it. I'm on the probably very well-known Highway 395 in California, and it goes north and south, pretty much follows these mountains. Most of the time the mountains are going to be off to your left if you're driving north, that is, or out to your right if you're driving south. And it's become one of my favorite drives of all time. I've done this twice this year. This is my second time. Spent a lot of time around the Sierra Nevada. Probably more so because of Camp View and the wealth of campgrounds that I can document all up and down the National Forest campgrounds, some of our biggest national parks, trying to go for the heavy hitters. So that's primarily why I've spent so much time in this area, but I love it. Especially someone from Phoenix that's pretty much had it with the heat. Used to love it, and I'm really starting to change my mind all these years later. Starting to think it's time to pack up ship and get on out before that place burns down. Anyway, why don't we do this? I'm gonna just kind of let the camera roll on the top of the car. I'm gonna shut up, and I'll document some of this drive on 395 at various junctures between here and Crowley Lake. We're gonna do the Crowley Lake thing, and then we're going to Yosemite National Park, and I'm gonna be setting up my campsite there on this very video. You'll get to see it at Crane Flat Campground. Got lots to talk about with that. Gonna save that for other episodes, but 4 days in Yosemite. Now in September, after Labor Day. I'm going back when it's not supposed to be quite as crazy, but I'm expecting it to still be a bit much. about a half mile or less from my turn, Owens Gorge Road, to get over to Crowley Lake. Somewhere off into the woods it looks like we go. I think I see a state trooper up there,
right on
maybe.
Owens Gorge Road.
On the side of the highway, yep. No, actually it's not. I don't know anything about this area other than the pictures I've seen of the lake.
Gorge Road for 4 miles.
So yeah, we got about 4 miles. I gotta change some batteries out here too, so I'm probably gonna pull over and take care of some business. And there's a campground here, the Tough Campground. Am I filming that one on our trip? I don't know. But yeah, somewhere back here is a lake with some very, very strange geological features. Or a feature, I should say. And I want to see it for myself. And it's somewhere back here in this strange landscape. Had a nice gentleman, actually a Subaru driver. He was asking me if I know what's beyond that hill or how this goes, and I just saw a 4Runner go up it. He gave me some advice of what not to do. What the 4Runner driver seemed to do is to head up to the right side there. I really don't know how bad this is gonna get, clearance-wise or whatever. I'm kind of like, do I just walk? You know what? No, this is the Cactus Atlas, and this is Slim. I mean, we got this. I'm just starting to get a little soft. The older I get, I think, and less willing to do things like this. But now that I'm coming up on this, boy, does that look steep. I'm kind of talking myself out of this myself now, but I don't know. Yeah, do not go to the right, is what the guy said. I almost think going straight up the center is probably the best option here. Yeah, it doesn't look as bad when you're on the hill, when you're looking at it straight on, but this is why I could see now for sure people were saying that, you know, they're gonna walk it, but I don't know. This isn't too bad. Slim makes us feel easy. Wow, that was like no problem at all. I was psyching myself out talking to the guy. I almost said I'm not gonna do it. But that was a piece of cake. I was sitting here ready to.
I was gonna ask if I could hitch a ride in the back of your.
Oh, it is packed. Everything in here is packed full, unfortunately.
Packed full. Oh, wow, you sure are. Okay.
So
all right.
I would absolutely do it. I'm sorry, though.
To walk, so yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I feel bad because that lady, well, you probably heard some of it. She was asking if I could give her a lift, you know, so she doesn't have to walk all the way, like just in the bed of my truck. But I let her look inside the truck. I am full to the brim here. She should want to be careful here. I don't want to run over her. Thank you. I think that's the wife of the husband I was talking to up on the hill. Maybe they'll see the video one day. But I don't think I give Slim enough credit. I know a lot of you say he's a lot more capable than I give him credit for, and I know. But I think it's more of just when I'm by myself, I get a little bit more nervous. But now that we're past that spot, this is a piece of cake. And I confirmed with her, I don't know if Amy's going to use any of the footage, but I asked her if she knows if I'm going the right way to the columns, because I think it's like a 2-mile hike if you can't drive this. And honestly, I did not budget in my itinerary anywhere near what it would have taken to do the walk. I think I see where we're going, and I think I see the pin for the actual thing on the map now. So I'm confident we're in a good spot. Man, I feel bad for that lady. I almost think that I should have done a better job and made room for her, but the back of my bed is full to the brim from top to bottom. I do have a tonneau cover on there, and I mean, my seats are full of stuff, and I don't have anywhere else to put them. The back seat is full to the top, so it would have been kind of a puzzle to figure out. Hopefully she can catch a ride with someone else.
In 800 feet, you will arrive at your destination.
I'm glad I did this today. I'm glad that I decided not to walk it. I was gonna say be a wimp and walk, as if walking this is wimpy. It's not. It's a long walk in the sunlight, so. Nice blue lake though, right on the Eastern Sierra. It's absolutely beautiful, man. Absolutely beautiful. All right. Oh, you can see the columns from right here. And if you guys we gotta go down pretty far. I didn't bring any boots. This is really slippery stuff. Is this the trail? I guess this is the trail. It's the most trail I've seen. Might be good to bring hiking boots on this thing with as loose as this dirt is and this gravel. The breeze out here is amazing too. It's a perfect temperature right now. Feels like it's probably in the 70s, maybe upper 70s, but with the breeze, it cools it down like right off the water here. Fantastic. And this battery's almost dead. I'm not changing it on this thing. I'm gonna have to wait till we get down there. And we'll chat maybe some more. But look how steep this is, man. Going up's gonna be fun. It's like deep sand now. Now it's just not even a trail, it's just like walking down a sand dune. I got sand all up in my shoes now. Oh well. Could have been worse, I would say. But we made it to these things. So you're not gonna get any education on this one because I have no idea how these formed. I've never seen anything like these before and anywhere. I didn't read about that part. I was more trying to study on limited time, how do I get here? But sure enough, calling them columns is a very good way to describe what I'm seeing here. And the best ones seem to be down here. And don't forget those views either as you go to check out these weird things here. And here they are, probably some of the better specimens we're gonna see up close and personal. Curious to kind of touch one. Are they dirt? Are they rock? What the heck are these things? I didn't realize you could walk back in here like this. I mean, this would be a handy shelter if you needed one, but how far back does this go? I didn't bring any flashlight. I can't see, it's pitch black. Goes back a few more feet at least though. And by the way, what are they made of? Feels like solid rock to me. I mean, this isn't man-made as far as I can tell. It's just nature-made and very nature strange. One of the weirdest things I can say I've ever done seen. How about you guys? What do you think? I mean, I'm not gonna contribute to erosion, but I mean, I'm kind of pushing my thumbnail into it. I get nothing. There's no dirt coming off. It is solid. Some kind of sedimentary conglomeration of rock, I would have to guess. And clay. Very concrete-like is a good way to describe this here. sure someone will comment down below and you will have a full explanation for us and a name. Give us a name of these things, or maybe Amy can do it. But yeah, they have this weird cylindrical, it's almost like the spine of something, like a fossil, or, you know. And if you look here on the beach, you could see cylindrical rocks that I would have to imagine are former columns, because they're kind of like pancakes stacked on one on top of each other. You see that? I don't know what accounts for that though. Such a weird thing. Why each separate segment like that? That's something I'd like to know. I'm gonna guess it's just a force of erosion, probably, I don't know, maybe ice and cracking, but why at such regular intervals does it seem to happen like that? Reminds me very much that, you know, when you go to Berlin Ichthyosaur State Park and you see the ichthyosaur fossils and you see the spine, the spinal column, it's in disarray. Looks more like this, but that's what this reminds me of, is like an ichthyosaur spine. See what I'm saying? It's like these things were already there. You could see them poking out of the top. You can kind of see their outlines as you go down, and it's like as the, you know, the erosion happens, it seems like the hillside is getting eroded, yet the columns remain. And that's really why I'm just so confused of what is it? What the heck is it? All right, now probably the only not fun part. We're gonna head back up a steep, sandy incline. Okay, I think we're ready. Make sure I got everything. I didn't film most of the walk up that hill because all you would have heard is a bunch of huffing and puffing. That was tough. It's really tough, actually, for me. But we got it done. I'm just thankful that I came back up here and I have a truck waiting for me with air conditioning and cold water and many other beverages, because the thought of having to walk that and then walk a couple miles up this road that's completely exposed does not sound too much fun to me. All right, you saw the whole drive coming down this way, so I'm not going to film the whole drive back up this dirt road. It's pretty short anyway, but I will film that fun part, the really steep part. I'll get that going this direction, see if a different angle makes it seem any scarier. And, you know, right there's a good example of the ruts though you gotta watch out for. So I said I wasn't gonna film or say anything, but I'm still commentating, because I do want to say, you know, now that I've done this, I allocated like close to, I think it was an hour and a half, close to 2 hours maybe, to do this whole thing, and I'm over budget, just this little bit. I'm 15 minutes behind my schedule, so it'll be made up because I pad all the driving distances, but that was with me driving. So if you're gonna walk and hike all the way down this road and all the way back, I think you're in for a pretty, I think it could be a half-day adventure, maybe. And with it being really hot like it is now and no shade, it could be a dangerous one for some people. Back on 395, and we got about 1 hour to go to get to our next stop, or what I had planned for my next stop. I might make some impromptu stops once we get into the Yosemite area. Turn on the AC so you can hear me better. But yeah, the thing that I really wanted to maybe stop and see is we're going to be driving through Tioga Pass, so there's that. But the drive, I've done that drive and come in that entrance of Yosemite, my very first time in there, and it's absolutely beautiful. So but Tuolumne Meadows is what I wanted to really stop and see if we could find a parking spot maybe. and poke our heads and check out the meadow up there, because I've only driven through it and it's beautiful, but I've never had an opportunity to stop before. Now, some of you that follow me very closely, especially on Campview, caught wind that I had a not very good experience in Yosemite earlier this year. In late July, early June, I forget the exact dates, came here mainly for Campview business, knowing it was going to be the middle of summer, knowing it was going to be bad. And I unfortunately just had one bad experience after another for consecutive days at a time, specifically having to do with camping, not just in Yosemite, but some of the national forests, the Sierra National Forest campgrounds, that stuff, right out of Yosemite, where a lot of Yosemite traffic overflows to. So you get some people that don't really know camping etiquette very well that time of the year, and it just added up. Some of you wanted to hear more detail, and I never really went into it, and I don't think I'm going to, for various reasons. But I left abruptly. I left my trip a few days prematurely, said screw this, I can't deal with it anymore, and left before even finishing some of the critical Campview stuff that I wanted to do up here while I was there. So that's really what this trip is kind of about, is finishing what I started and coming back at a time of the year to give Yosemite a second chance, because I had such a bad time that at that time I had written it off for life. I vowed that day I would never return to that ever again, but here I am. And so the part of my bad experience had to do with one of the campgrounds in Yosemite, Hodgdon Meadow. And a lot of it I attribute it to the facility and just how they designed it. It is, if you want to talk about the epitome of putting sites close together like you're in a sardine can, that's the one. And, you know, there's a lot of critique to be given about that. And I've never seen a campground quite disorganized like that one, to be quite frank. But where I'm staying I'm not staying in that campground this time. I'm staying in Crane Flat, which isn't far from there, but they actually renovated the campground a couple years ago. Beautiful sites, beautifully terraced sites, and I did do a drive-through of that. I used my own campground drive-through to try to select a site out of what was available when I went, and I'm going to put it to the test when I show up, and we'll see how accurate my app or my video content is. Maybe I'll see it and say, you know what, it doesn't work, but I think it will. Here we go. We're pretty much right at the begining of Lee
Turn
Vining.
left onto California 120 West, Tioga Road. Signs for California 120 West,
Tioga Road.
Yosemite.
I'm pretty sure it's only been one time since I've done this drive, and I was amazed. And I think we filmed some of it
on Tioga Road for 20
a
miles.
few years back. Still have 11 miles to go before we get to the Yosemite's main gate, though, so we're not quite there yet. And once we get in Yosemite, long drive. We got a long way to go. So I don't even know if we could say we're in the Eastern Sierra anymore once we get to Crane Flat. It might be like near the crest, or I'm not even sure. So lots of steep grades on this road. Says it's difficult for trailers, I assume any time of the year, but like I said, this area gets closed off completely, you know, seasonally. And I think it's late May, early June, depending on the year when it might open. And usually it's October, November, late October, early November probably when it closes down on the average, I hear. September may actually, I bet you wouldn't be surprised if there's a freak storm or something. It could get shut down before that. September, who knows? But the way the weather's looking now, it's still quite warm out in these parts. Let's see what it is now. It's 82 currently up here, which to me is warm for the mountains. You know, I really don't know what my words adding commentary to this can do at this point, so I'm just gonna let well, maybe I should look at that. I could see the glare of cars hugging the side of that mountain over there. But yeah, what I was gonna say is, I don't know what my words can add to this, so I'm just gonna shut up and let the camera do the talking here. Because this is beautiful. My goodness, is it beautiful. Okay, so what I think I want to focus on now is, I think that, from my remembrance, that section of the pass was my favorite. Everything's beautiful here, but after a while, I'm going to be filming hours of the same thing. So I think what I'm going to do is wait till we get into Yosemite, first of all. Shouldn't be too far from the gate. And then once we get a little bit of distance, you know, we'll connect back up. Hopefully Tuolumne Meadows is doable. There's a sign right back there that said it's an estimated 45-minute wait. When I came here over the summer, I had a 2-hour wait, and it took 1 hour to get to the sign that told you it was an hour wait to get from there. So there is no wait, because I think the parking, well, quarter of a mile is what it is. I don't see a line yet. I think I found the line. So there is a little bit of a line, but compared to, oh yeah, and the gate is right here, I think. I can't see, I got a glare in my window or I can't tell, but I think this is like virtually no wait. There's a 3-legged dog there. Anyway, let me take care of business, and then Crane Flat is where we're going. The end of Tioga Pass Road. 48 miles, so another 50 miles to go, even though we're entering the park. So that's why I don't want to over film, although I have a feeling, I fear I already have, because I've been filming all day. So anyway, give me a few minutes. That was very painless today getting in. In fact, there was some guy in a van, I don't know what he was doing, taking up, you know, stuck at the gate talking to the ranger. So another ranger came out and kind of started asking, oh, you got a reservation, you got an ID, cool, go around them. So that was nice. There's a beautiful meadow off to our left, but what I wanted to commentate on is now that we're in, we still have driving to do. It is 64 degrees. That's how much the temperature has dropped just going through Tioga Pass. My goodness, opening my window to talk to the guy, I wasn't paying attention. I opened it to get a cold blast of air. I'm like, oh my gosh, 64 degrees. I don't know. I'm losing my fizz. And part of me is like, just make a beeline to the campground. I think what's going to determine that is how crowded does the meadow look. If parking is abundant and it's no problem, then we'll at least get out and take a peek. Driving through it, though, you'll get a view of it from the vehicle. Something's telling me we got a meadow coming up, because I see kind of a break in the trees slightly. And the speed limit's slowing, going down to 25 miles an hour. I bet you this is it. I haven't done much studying really to know like what is there to do here other than just park and look at the meadow, I guess. There's one parking lot, but I want to make sure we're in the meadows before I actually. Oh yeah, there's a lot of people down there parked on the road. What I recall is down here, like people parked on the side of the road, and I already see beautiful rivers. That should be the Tuolumne River, I would assume. But I don't know the ideal place to park. That's why I'm wondering, do I maybe squeeze in another episode in a couple days from now and come explore this a little bit more? So there's a spot there. I don't know what that is. I just don't know how far I need to walk and where I need to go. There's like a post office. There's some meadow right there. Some more parking. Actually, there's plenty of parking over there. Now I'm wondering if I saw where all the cars were back there, is that really where I wanted to go if I want to experience the meadow? Because I told you could see some of it. You'll be able to see more of it up here, I believe. Yeah. I think what I want to do, the meadow proper seems to be a little bit further off to the right. I see it. It's pretty. The grasses are very yellow right now. I think I've seen them when it was green and more lush. I could be wrong. But it's not, for some reason I just remember people parked up and down the side of the road, and I thought you would just casually get out and walk, but I think I'm mistaken, or I missed a turn. There's another parking lot full of empty parking spots, so you know what? Screw it. There's a trail right here. We can kind of see part of the meadow. I'm gonna just get out and look. And they have little porta potties anyway. I gotta tinkle while I'm here, so I've had to go since Crowley Lake. All right, let's just go take a peek here. Proof that you can actually find parking in Yosemite. It is a Sunday afternoon, so that could have something to do with it. But over here is the Tuolumne Meadows, or part of it, I assume, and I wanted to find a spot. My thought was the river would run right through here, right? The Tuolumne River, I read about it. And I just want to kind of get out where we get some views. I noticed a trail over here, so we'll go check her out. So I need to get over there. I think I see people walking in the middle, but it makes you stay on the trail, so I can't jaywalk here. So I'm hoping the trail cuts over, because I think I see the river. And I just wanted to get a couple snapshots and enjoy the beautiful landscape. I love meadows. Alpine meadows are my jam in 2024. That's what gets me excited now. So I believe the term for like a field of boulders that were transported here because of glaciers, and I'm assuming this is that, would be known as a moraine, right? So is that what it would be qualified for? Is this not? I'm gonna restudy geology and earth science, I think. Oh my gosh. There's nobody here at all. I thought it was gonna be crowded. Just from having driven by this section a few years ago, it left an impression with me. And now that I'm here in it, standing here looking at it, boy, is this something else. And I'm ignorant because I don't know if this is one of the tributary creeks that flows into the Tuolumne River or the Tuolumne River proper. I'm gonna guess it's the Tuolumne River because they call it Tuolumne Meadows. And this is a very important water source for a very large city that's not Los Angeles, near to here, named San Francisco, California. I believe several creeks flow into the Tuolumne. I forget all of their names. I would say. And then this thing flows and ends up going down to Hetch Hetchy, is my understanding, which is a large reservoir with a dam, a man-made reservoir that we visited several years ago. It's in a couple of our videos if you haven't heard of it. And one of the things about Hetch Hetchy is you're not allowed to swim in those waters, not even like the tributary waters, the waterfall waters coming in there, even though I busted lots of people doing that, because this is San Francisco's drinking water, and apparently that water in Hetch Hetchy is exquisitely clean naturally as it is, so that's why they don't want, I guess, people polluting it with their poo-poo and caca. But it all kind of originates, my understanding is, from up here in these high alpine meadows and these creeks. So if you live in San Francisco, chances are one of you is gonna drink some of these molecules one day soon. And my understanding is they do treat it, although they don't have to do a lot of treatment, I think is the main point. But interesting thing I never knew. These large California cities, man, they suck up water like nobody's business, don't they? Owens Valley's gone, or Owens Lake is gone, I should say. And all of this stuff, well, you think we should start maybe pursuing desalinization of ocean water. I mean, I know that's technically possible. I don't know how much it costs, but I think the 1800s way of obtaining water, maybe it's time to think like John Muir again and like undo it all. All right, that was exactly what the doctor ordered. I needed that. I think that's why I put that on my itinerary. I needed faith that everything's gonna be not just okay, but live up to my expectations of what Yosemite should be. Because I can't tell you, I think I'm smart enough to think scientifically that my experience last time was just a lot of bad luck. That's probably more bound to happen in the busier times. More people that don't understand etiquette in places like this, stuff like that. It really did a number on me. It really did. It was that bad. And I remember I drove this very road the other direction in the middle of the night when I was leaving in anger, saying I can't take it anymore. And I had packed all my stuff up and with no plan, just, I hit my breaking point and it was not wise. If I could go back and talk myself down off the ledge from leaving, I would have, but I basically packed it up and drove in the middle of the night down Tioga Pass Road. And since I didn't have a plan, I just opted to drive all the way straight home to Phoenix on that trip. Very tired, very dangerous. Never again. All right, hopefully I have enough battery on the top to capture the drive in. I've only got like a couple percents left. I'm at 441. I thought 42 is sticking out, but I'm one off. But it's in the 400s here. They have a weird numbering system in this campground. There aren't 400 sites. There's a 500 section too. But I just watched my campground drive-through video and things look familiar to me from watching that. Like all these really beautiful terrace sites. I was gonna go for one of those, but I opted not to because they just seem a little close together. But 441 seemed to be at the bottom of this hill next to a bunch of sites that got complaints about being too close to one another, which we'll see here shortly. Man, this keeps going. I probably should save my battery until we get closer, eh? I don't think it's gonna last. All right, here's that hill, and I know the ones to the right. A lot of people complained about being way too close to one another, and I thought so when I saw it. 38, there's my neighbor, one of them, and we should be here at 441, and it's exactly like I saw in my drive-through. I knew there were sites next to me, but it seems to me like it's in a little corner, and it seems like it's down a little ways, so a little added protection hopefully from obnoxious people. I think the top camera just turned off. I heard it go off, so anyway, 4:41. Let's get out on foot and you'll really get my 2 cents here. All right, just to show you I'm the real deal, I'm still in my truck. I've got this camera ready. I'm gonna take you out there with me and we'll talk about likes, dislikes, whatever we see. So this is my section here, the 440s, and that's my neighbor 442. And when I looked at the pictures, I saw exactly this. So I took this one because it's kind of down here and kind of hidden by trees. So you got some blocked sight lines, and I would say it was at my camp view. Scouting out was an absolute success. Like my other neighbors are up there. And that was another complaint about some of those, is they were very slanted. And I chose this one because I'm in a tent and this is very level. I would say I'm very pleased. I am not, as far as like spacing for national park campgrounds go, this little corner seemed better, but right up there, they start to pack them in a lot. Campy, baby. But the problem with that is when you go shopping for sites here, you're usually limited. If you're gonna see open sites on the reservation system, you're probably lucky. You're not gonna have much choice. But Crane Flat's been weird. They've been rolling out the releases, so they only release sites a few weeks down the line. So that helps a lot, and there has been availability here. So, and by the way, you can collect your own firewood here in the woods if you want to. And as long as it's loose and fallen, you can't cut anything down. So that's a cool little perk. Well, got my tent set up here at site 441 in Yosemite Crane Flat Campground, and I'm all set. Got everything loaded in it, and I'm ready to spend the next 4 nights, including tonight here. And it's really, I also chose this one because it's kind of got nobody in the backyard other than bears. So with that said, my friends, I'm gonna cut ties here with you until next week. I hope you enjoyed this road trip episode, and we'll have more coming your way if you like this sort of thing. And if you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, please consider doing so. Be sure to tell a couple of your friends about us, and see you next week.